Welcome to the CSBP Fertilisers Grow Better podcast, sharing knowledge with growers on leading crop nutrition, sustainable agriculture and other issues impacting the agricultural industry.
G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast. My name's Gray Johnston and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Andrew Cosgrove, Chair of the Mingenew Midwest Expo. G'day Andrew.
Gray, how you going, mate?
Very well. Now the good oil I've had is that your friends and colleagues prefer worm for you. Is that an accurate description?
That I'm more commonly known as Worm. Yeah, I think more people will recognise me then. Yeah.
And how did that come about?
It's a long story and it's probably not safe for this podcast, but yeah, it's a name that stuck anyway.
All right. Well, I'm sure people will be looking forward to the number one highlight of Expo now will be meeting you and catching up on what the cause of the worm name is. But you're as we said, the chair of the Expo, and today's episode is really just a chat about that. But why don't you, as is custom on our show, introduce yourself to the listenership and tell us a bit about what you're up to.
So farmer in Mingenew and part-time chairman of the board here at the Expo, and today is the first day of groundworks on the site. So the boys are busy out there putting lines down and getting the layout ready. That's what's happening up here at the moment anyway.
And what kind of work does that, give us a sense of the scale and scope of all that work that goes into getting the Expo ready?
So now it's on the footy oval and the golf course, so there's a fair bit of work goes into it. Probably a lot more than people think. There's 5 of us down there at the moment, and we got the line marker out, and tape measures and GPSs and string lines, and yeah, it's a bit of a spider's web down there at the moment, but we'll get there.
All sounds very sophisticated. Now, how long have you been involved in the Expo?
So as a volunteer, probably the best part of 10 years now, ever since coming out of school. And on the board for 6 years now, I'm pretty sure, and then 3 years as the chairman. So yeah, sort of stepped into it pretty quick, and yeah, enjoying it as best I can.
And give us a sense of what the last few years have been like.
It's been pretty challenging with the face of COVID and that still lingering around. Trouble attracting staff into our office, which may, last year, that was part of the reason back to the one-day event as well. It certainly hasn't been easy the last few years, but, it's important that we keep this event going, and we're pretty lucky this year. We've got a couple of fantastic event coordinators back with us, so they're both standing in the background smiling. But yeah, it's certainly, as much as the volunteers are important, the work that goes on behind the scenes and in the office is, she's not a small task, that's for sure.
And so back to a 2-day event this year. You mentioned it was a 1-day event last year.
Yeah, back to the 2 days. Probably it's more exhibitor driven than anything. So they're getting the most bang for their buck and their exposure, and gives patrons an option. You can either get here on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and there's plenty to look at. I think we got over 200 exhibitors this year, which is we're wrapped with that, and few different things going on. So there should be plenty for the whole family, really.
And your connection to the Expo, if I can drill into that a little more. I understand this is kind of a multi-generational family thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it was almost the ideal succession planning. My brother was the chairman before me, and then my mother, she was always on the catering committee and the boss lady of that for a while, and then we've always been around with setting up, and even back in the early 80s when it was first conceived, Dad was part of the crew then, and that was back in the days when we used to build tents by hand, and it was all done. That was when it was all done by the community, and I would hate to think about how much effort that would have taken, and the blokes that have still coming in now and helping with the setup. They tell all the war stories about having to bang posts and pegs and poles in for weeks before it, and so we're probably a little bit luckier now with the more sophisticated marquee designs, and some people turn up to do it, so it's good.
You mentioned the early '80s there, and before we started recording, you mentioned it was the 40th anniversary of the Expo this year. I mean, what is it, do you think, that got people into getting it going in the first place? Your parents included.
Yeah, so it was '83 was the first one. Bob Paskins came up with the idea, and we had Alan Heitman, who was the local farmer. He was the original coordinator. It was actually brought about back then by the Lions Club, and from the limited history that I've got available, it was in September back then, late the third week of September, and I do believe there's still a few mugs in the cabinet where it was more of an Oktoberfest than a field day. So I think they must have just wanted a good reason for a party. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's how it started, and it just evolved from there, really. And it was still a showcase for industry back then. We've got a few exhibitors turning up this year that have been to every expo since '83. So that's for those guys, 7 of them, I'm just told. So that's a huge effort for them to support our event, and it's without support like that makes these things possible.
And they must be getting something out of it, though. Like, what is it that you see? What does the community get out of it? What do the exhibitors get out of it? What's your sense?
Oh, I think the exhibitors. It's a perfect opportunity to showcase the latest and greatest to the biggest audience you can get. You got your 3 main colours: the red guys, the blue and yellow guys, and the green guys. But it's a chance to look over the fence without too much effort, and and then the community itself. It's the massive fundraiser for our town, and the local clubs and groups that benefit financially from this as well. All our volunteer hours go back to supporting clubs in the local community.
So we're back to 2 days this year. Anything in particular you're excited about, relaunching, or anything new happening this year at the Minginoo Midwest Expo?
Yeah, there's a few exciting things. So the Wednesday night is more focused on a celebration of the expo. Really, we've got the Rabobank guys. A few people might have seen it around, but they've got a B train that's turns into a stage and whatnot. So we're going to have live music on the Wednesday night with C4 coming. There's fireworks, and we've got a bit more of a return to the circus atmosphere as well. We'll have a circus out the front of the bar and kids activities. So night markets and night food stalls. There's a few things happening that's just probably a bit more just atmosphere for the community to get together and have a good time.
Awesome. Sounds really exciting. Now, last year, I have vivid memories of standing in, I think, what was a freezing easterly. You'll correct me on the exact prevailing wind direction, recording the kids at the primary school. We're not doing that again, are we?
That wind sounds familiar, and fingers crossed. I think we're looking at good weather at the moment. Still, I won't be disappointed if it rains. But the wind has been a bit fresh up here still. I'll admit that, but we should be good for the day. I'm certain.
Very good. You heard it here first. And is the Young Farmers Challenge returning?
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, what does it say about the calibre of the young farmers in Minginoo that the CSBP FERTS team got second last year, including a couple of marketers?
Well, you just must be well-rounded individuals, adaptable. No, it's there's plenty of good farmers around here. Just probably not enough young ones, and yeah, we need more of them.
Good. Oh, well, hopefully the team, I'm looking at the team, hopefully they'll be signing up again for to try and go one better again this year. You touch a little bit on rainfall or lack of it, and a bit on your own kind of farming background. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening in your, outside of the expo, what's happening in your world?
Yeah, no, it's certainly this season's probably been a challenging one. It's one of the driest growing seasons we've had on record, certainly in the past past 10 years that's how I've been back on the farm for 10 years now. So it's certainly one of the driest seasons that I've seen, second to 19 and 15. There's certainly some guys that are probably doing it a bit tough at the moment. I was actually having a chat with a bloke on the weekend, and for the calendar year, I think we're in the third percentile decile range of how low it is. So it's certainly making it challenging, and we're looking forward to probably a few more rainfall events. There's a promising forecast later this week, but it's like for our operation, we're probably a bit blessed with it's a mixed setup with cropping and livestock. But I know, my brother's still flat out feeding sheep, and when you're feeding sheep in August, it's generally not a good sign of how things are going. But yeah, no, I think, and that's where events like the Expo are important. When things are pretty average on the farm, you have got a reason to get out and go and talk to a mate and probably socialise a bit, and share your grievances with your friends, really.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Now, we're talking to you live from this won't be going out live, but we are talking to you live from the Expo main site. What does the next couple of weeks entail for you?
We are live here today. The boys are busy down on the oval to my left. So the first few days is all just about getting the layout set up. We've got the third party eye company. They're here building the first big marquee, the home and living pavilion. So we're setting up lines, putting out the bunting to guide people where to go. Then it's early next week is when we get the main crew of volunteers in, and it's all the finishing touches, things like you'll see flagpoles around the grounds and all that kind of setup, all the chairs and tables. That's all done by the locals. They're out there spreading them out, and there's a big task ahead of us for the next few days, but we'll get there, that's for sure.
Sounds like all systems go ahead of the 9th and 10th of August. What do people need to do if they want to get involved?
There'll be tickets on the gate on the day, but get your tickets online. I think Sarah's given me the nod. That's the best way to do it if you want to get the express lane through the gate to get in here as soon as possible.
Gates open what time on the 9th?
We are opening at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. There's plenty of food vans, so save up your appetite for a coffee or a waffle or something like that. There's food for all types.
And of course, in the CSBP tent, we'll be there with our coffee as well. So make sure you pop past and say hi to us. We'll also have the Trials 100 display. And of course, we're sponsoring the Trials 100 main stage this year. So CSBP's looking forward to being there. And from the sound of things, looking forward to enjoying a good time on the Wednesday evening. Yeah,
and you'll be happy to know that the CSBP site's already marked out and safe, and you've got your spot booked in.
Really very excited to get that live update, and the team are pumped to get up there next Wednesday. So look, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on the CSBP Grow Better podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you and everyone else at the Mingan Midwest Expo 9th to 10th of August in a very short period of time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Gray. And just a quick one, thanks to CSBP for their sponsorship, not only of the stage and the event, but the wider community. And it's without sponsors like you guys and the rest that these events are possible.
No worries at all. And thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show and share those messages with our audiences. So on that bombshell, that's us, another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast done. Remember, you can jump on our social at CSBP Fertilisers to keep in touch with what we're up to, and subscribe, rate and review the podcast on all your favourite podcast platforms. Until next time, I've been Gray Johnston. Thank you, Andrew Cottrogrove.
Cheers, mate.
See you later, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast. For more information about CSBP, please visit csbp-fertilisers.com.au or connect with us on social media at CSBP Fertilisers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn.